All guests on ZASLOW Show 2.0 are brought to us by the official beer of the program, Johnny Cuba. European roots with that Caribbean soul, a refreshing German lager in a can. Go to johnnycuba.us. Use the Johnny Locator. Find the nearest location to you. How else are you going to enjoy Thursday night football as week 3 kicks off tonight? Make sure you always drink responsibly, and don't forget Johnny Cuba's mantra, stay tranquilo. Our pal is CBS Sports Fantasy Football expert, Jamey Eisenberg. Jamey, how are you today? Good to see you.
It's good to see you as well. There probably needs to be a lot of alcohol consumed to watch this game tonight between the Patriots and the Jets.
You know what? I'm kind of into this game, but I'm into it because I hate both these teams. So right. I like the idea that the narrative where and the fallout, if the Jets were to fall to 1-2, that's interesting to me.
I think, yeah, it's definitely an interesting game. I was, more speaking of the performance and how it's going to unfold. But, yeah, there's a lot of storylines at play here. The Patriots with a big surprise in week 1 and very competitive in week 2. And so give Gerard Mayo some credit for, keeping this team afloat despite a lot of lackluster, at least based on names, talented players on the team. And the Jets, could have easily lost that game last week against the Titans if Will Levis, didn't, sort of vomit all over himself. So, yeah, this is an interesting spot. And from the Dolphins fan perspective, now you're in a dogfight because of the quarterback situation. So you want to see who's going to be maybe who you're looking up to, if in fact the Dolphins lose in Seattle in week 3.
I'll circle back to your plays for the game tonight in a second. But a week ago this evening, Tua, he suffers the concussion. What has stood out to you as far as the conversation in the ensuing days?
I think everybody sort of handled it appropriately. Give Tua the time he needs to make the right decision because this is a life decision as much as it is a football decision. You want to see him come back and play and, pick up from where he was last week, pick up where he was last year and continue to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, why the Dolphins paid him. But, he's clearly got, bigger issues at play. You got to talk about family, got to talk about future, got to talk about kids. All those things are more important than football. And so putting him on IR made some sense, give him the appropriate time to get cleared if he's going to come back. And that's what you'd like to see. So earliest we would see him is week 8. Until then, from a football perspective, it's bad news for the Dolphins offense because Skylar Thompson's not going to do the same things Tua Tagovailoa did. And we've seen the sample size. Tyreek's still okay. Jalen Waddle not as good. And so you hope that Mike McDaniel can be creative and, Devon Achan's still a star and Tyreek and Waddle still do what they do.
All right, so let's talk about the Dolphins then this Sunday. So this Sunday, what do we like, and what does Skylar Thompson as the quarterback mean for the fantasy owners of the Dolphins, skill players, also big picture over the next 4 weeks?
Yeah, I think Tyreek is still a must start. He's just so good and can do so many different things. It's Waddle's the biggest concern because he's played 8 games in his career without Tua. No touchdowns in those 8 games. He's averaging 5 catches and 56 yards per game. So it's just not pretty for him. So I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he still produces a high level because myself and I'm sure a lot of people invested a lot in Jalen Waddle, hoping for a big year, and that's still in front of him. He just got to get on the same page with Skylar Thompson and get some of those opportunities. So for this week, I would try and sit Waddle if you can. Hard to do in 3 receiver leagues, but if you can, do so. And Tyreek's still a must-start guy. Devon Achan is going to benefit in a big way because we've seen Skylar Thompson throw to his running backs. So as long as Mostert's out, Achan's got top 5 upside. If Mostert's in, he's still a must-start running back, and Mostert more of a flex. I do think Jonnu Smith will benefit as well because, again, some of those short area throws. But really, it's just a downgrade for everything across the board. Really, aside from Achan, just based on how this passing game will look.
And what about for tonight? For Sunday. For Sunday against Seattle. Excuse me.
Yeah. So for Seattle, it should be a big game for Zach Charbonnet. It looks like Ken Walker's not going to play. Charbonnet had a big fantasy day, only 14 carries for 38 yards, but 5 catches, 50 yards receiving. And the Dolphins have struggled to stop the run right now. So Jaguars ran on them. Clearly, Buffalo ran on them. Got a lot of production from James Cook and Travis Etienne in those 2 games. So I think Charbonnet's got top 10 upside. DK Metcalf is a must-start receiver. Jackson's been the Jigba coming off 16 targets last week. He's a borderline must-start receiver. Tyler Lockett, more of a dart throw. Geno Smith, more of a desperation play. So good pivot if you lost Tua to go get Geno Smith. He's been at 19 fantasy points each of the first 2 weeks.
All right, tonight, Jets-Patriots. Like you said earlier, not expecting a ton of production. Is there anyone that we start?
There are 3 must-start players, and it's the 2 starting running backs in Breece Hall and I almost said Braylon Allen. That's how much I like him. But Breece Hall and Ramondre Stevenson. Stevenson's been great. 2 touchdowns, a touchdown in each of the first 2 games. 16 fantasy points or more in each of those outings. So like the setup for him. Still, CJ Mosley's banged up for the Jets. Jets run defense has obviously been a little suspect through the first 2 weeks based on what Jordan Mason and Tony Pollard have done. Breece Hall's been awesome. 5+ catches each of the first 2 games. So he's locked in, even though Braylon Allen, I think, is nipping at his heels to get some more work. And then Garrett Wilson, look, he's due. Is this the right matchup for him? Because Christian Gonzalez is going to be one of the better young cornerbacks in the league. It's not a slam dunk, but I think this is a game where you can get Garrett Wilson going. Alan Lazard, Mike Williams, Braylon Allen, they're more, parts. I do think Hunter Henry's got an opportunity to build off what he did last week, 8 catches, and over 100 yards, and look really good as the go-to guy for the Patriots. Their receiving core right now is a work in progress. So Hunter Henry, not a bad flyer if you need a tight end.
Let me highlight a couple of the bigger games here. So how about 1 o'clock slate? You got Eagles and Saints. What do you like there? Everything?
Yeah, it's been great for the Saints so far. Clint Kubiak, the offense coordinator, comes over from San Francisco, and you see Derek Carr look more comfortable. Rashid Shaheed has been unlocked. Alvin Kamara has been the best running back in football, so we just need to see Chris Olave get going, which I think could happen this week. Secondary has really been bad for Philadelphia. For the Eagles, you know what you're getting. Barkley's been great. Jalen Hurts has been, typical great production. A.J. Brown probably not going to go, so Devontae Smith just gets ratcheted up even more. He becomes a top 10 receiver without A.J. Brown on the field. The one guy that's been a little frustrating is Dallas Goedert. I thought last week without Brown there, he would step up and play better. He didn't. So if you need a tight end this week, I would pivot to Hunter Henry over Dallas Goedert this week if you need to make a move.
What about the Bears and Colts? Very dicey quarterback situations.
Yeah, I mean, Richardson is still going to give you good fantasy production. Last week was disappointing, but I think he'll bounce back this week at home, even though the Bears defense has been very good. I just trust Richardson to make plays with his legs and just be sort of that wild card. So it'll be a lot of up and down, but hopefully the positives outweigh the negatives. For Caleb Williams, this is his easiest matchup. The Titans defense is significantly improved and showed it in week 1. The Texans defense is amazing, and they did a great job against him, sacking him 7 times. This is not the same defense. So Williams, not a slam dunk must-start guy, but DJ Moore should have a big opportunity here, especially if Keenan Allen's banged up. And then DeAndre Swift should have an opportunity for a good game as well. So you're starting for the Colts. It's really just Jonathan Taylor and Richardson.
How about the Chargers and Steelers? What have we learned so far with Jim Harbaugh running the show? How has that affected things in LA?
You said a key word there, running the show. They're running the ball. And, it's been great for J.K. Dobbins. If this guy stays healthy, he's going to be the best draft pick in fantasy. He just has a hard time staying on the field. But over 130 yards rushing each of the first 2 games. Now you got to put your big boy pants on, though, because you're not playing the Panthers. You're not playing the Raiders. Now you're playing the Steelers in Pittsburgh. So if he has another big game, look out. It's going to be an awesome season for Dobbins. And he is the guy that has worked in the passing game, and that's kind of the way you beat Pittsburgh from a running back perspective. But Quentin Johnson was great last week. I'd like to stash him on my bench. I don't want to start him this week, but 5 catches, 51 yards, 2 touchdowns, former first-round pick finally delivering. Justin Herbert's banged up, though, so just keep an eye on that.
Maybe the most interesting game of the weekend, 425 Ravens and Cowboys. What do you like?
Yeah, again, it should be an opportunity for both these teams to get going offensively. For the Ravens, I think you feel a little bit safer because Lamar Jackson's been great. Zay Flowers has been awesome. He's averaging over 16 PPR points per game. We'll see which tight end shows up. Last week, neither one had a big game. Week 1, we know Isaiah likely was a superstar. So I would start both of them, not together, but if you have them, separately in lineups, I think you can start both of them. Derrick Henry found the end zone each of the first 2 weeks, so you're starting him as a number 2 running back. For Dallas, it's been a little more tricky. Dak Prescott has underwhelmed. Vegas is expecting this to be a big game. I hope it's not just from the Ravens' perspective, but CeeDee Lamb's a must-start guy, and I would like to see them sort of give whoever it is just to see what happens with a full workload, Ezekiel Elliott or Rico Dowdle. My preference would be Dowdle just to see what he can do. Jake Ferguson is a must-start tight end.
And how about Sunday Night Football, Chiefs and Falcons?
Well, you saw a much better Falcons offense. They put Kirk Cousins under center, so let him be a little bit more comfortable to what he's used to doing. And so it seems like his Achilles injury is going to, start to get a little bit more distant. He can get back to doing some of the things that we like. Drake London, it was, a little fluky because had Saquon Barkley caught the ball there at the end of the game, we probably don't see Drake London score, but I still think he's a number 2 fantasy receiver. Darnell Mooney, very similar to Quentin Johnson, somebody I'd want to pick up and stash, not necessarily start this week. This could be a big game for Kyle Pitts. The Chiefs have been miserable against tight ends. Isaiah Likely week 1, Mike Gesicki last week. So this could be an opportunity for Pitts to get going. Bijan Robinson is a must-start guy. For the Chiefs, the big story is what's happening in their backfield. So you lose Isaiah Pacheco for at least 6 weeks. Carson Steele, Samaje Perine, maybe Kareem Hunt. For me, I would lean on Steele first. P. Ryan second, even if Hunt is active. I think they're all flex plays at best, though, not a must-start running back.
Jamey, who have been the waiver wire pickups this week?
So we just mentioned a few of them. So Carson Steele and P. Ryan have been the two biggest guys at the running back position. Kareem Hunt not far behind him. We got an injury situation to monitor in Houston. If Joe Mixon's out, Cam Akers could be the guy there. So he's been picked up across the board, or at least should be. You're looking at Gesicki. If T. Higgins is out for that Monday night game, he's had a touchdown call back due to penalty in week 1. Huge game last week. So we know we need tight ends in fantasy. So he was very good through the first 2 weeks of the season. Quentin Johnston, Darnell Mooney, 2 receivers that were added. Mooney coming off, 3 catches, 88 yards and a touchdown. Johnston, again, that 2-touchdown game. So those were 2 receivers. And a lot of movement at defense and kicker. You got great matchups this week. So you got the Raiders were picked up in a lot of leagues because their matchup against the Panthers. The Packers with their matchup against Will Levis. He's obviously been struggling. You can stream defenses. We talk about that for a reason. This is a good week to do it.
Are you interested in any of the wide receivers in Carolina now that Andy Dalton is throwing the ball?
So Deontay Johnson was dropped. He was, rostered in close to 100% of leagues. His roster percentage going into the week was about 80%. So clearly people have been bailing on him. So if he was available, yes. The other 2 guys, I think it's more if you need to if you have an open roster spot and see what happens there. So Xavier Legette, the rookie receiver, and Adam Thielen, who's 100 years old. A lot of wide variance of outcomes for those 2 guys. For me, I would lean toward the younger player in Legette just to see what happens there. But if Deontay Johnson was on your waiver wire, absolutely pick him up.
And Jamey, any other injuries we need to keep an eye on the next couple of days?
So Ken Walker, we'll see if he's able to come back. In terms of guys that could play, we know, unfortunately Pacheco, Cooper Kupp, those guys are banged up. Jordan Love is trying to get back on the field, so that's a storyline to monitor there.
What about Debo?
Debo's not going to play,
Okay.
So he's out. So that's another waiver wire guy, Jawan Jennings for the 49ers. Joe Mixon's the big one at running back, just in terms of his ankle injury. We'll see if he's able to play. For the receivers, we're keeping an eye on CeeDee Lamb. He should be good to go. I know DK Metcalf popped up on the injury report. He should be good to go. Really, the main injuries we know about. So no Samuel, no Kupp, on top of the other guys that have been ruled out. Keenan Allen, I guess, just keep an eye on that heel injury.
Great job, Jamey. Tell everybody how they can hear you leading up to tonight's game and then on Sundays as well.
CBSSports.com, CBS Sports HQ. We got you covered with all of your fantasy needs. Check out our YouTube page, Fantasy Football Today, where you can see us, recording our podcast live. And then you can always follow me on Twitter, which is at Jamey Eisenberg, Jamey.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamey. Appreciate it, man. Enjoy the games this weekend. We'll talk next week.
You got it, man. Take care.